Hello everybody, Steve here from dudehack.com, and today we're going to be talking about how the dating app Happn works. So you want to find out how Happn works. Well, today we're going to be going through exactly how it does work, but first, just a little bit of housekeeping. Guys, my name is Steve. I am the owner of dudehack.com, which is your online dating resource for dudes and dudettes. So if you are interested in anything online dating, go ahead and check it out. And look, if by the end of this video, you're still not sure whether Happn is the right dating app for you or not, I highly suggest you go over to dudehack.com and you take our free dating quiz that will tell you exactly which online dating app or site will suit you better. I've left a link for that down in the description below, so go ahead and take that quiz when you're ready. But today is all about Happn and how it works. So guys, let's jump into it right now. In a nutshell, Happn is a location-based dating app which will essentially match you with other people when you are in their vicinity and you both have a mutual like. So this means that you just so happen to find a match that you do cross paths with. You have expressed that you are interested in them. They have expressed they are interested in you, just like you would on Tinder or Bumble. And then you have a match and you can start a conversation. So maybe you were on the train and you caught eyes with that cute girl, or maybe you were walking down the street and you were a little bit nervous to say hello to that person that caught your eye. Well, that's what Happn's for. Now, just a quick side note on Happn, it is not called a match, it is called a crush. So if I accidentally call it a match, you know what I'm talking about. Essentially, the reasoning behind Happn, I believe at least, is to try to match people that are in a similar location. I mean, there's nothing worse than when you do match with someone who is just your type and they happen to be like 100 miles away or something. So with Happn, you can pretty much rest assured that that person is at least going to be somewhat close to you. So look, in a nutshell, that's what Happn is and how it works. But obviously there is a lot more to this answer. So let's dive through all the ins and outs of how Happn works, including its matching, messaging, its algorithm, and we'll run through each of those points now. Now, before we do jump into those points in a deep dive, guys, if you've ever used Tinder before, you might be quite familiar with the concept of Happn. I say that because Tinder did try to implement a very similar feature. It was called Tinder Places, and that worked on the exact same model. Essentially, you had to walk past somebody, they had to walk past you or be in the same vicinity. It would actually show where you did walk past them, i.e. like the cinema or the grocery store or whatever, and then you would like them, and hopefully if they did the same back to you, it would be a match. So essentially, it was the exact same as Happn. Now, for whatever reason, Tinder actually put a halt to Tinder Places. It isn't available anymore. The reasoning behind that, look, I'm not entirely sure, but one interesting thing was that Happn, when this was happening with Tinder Places, Happn decided to go ahead and implement a new feature to try to combat this. Basically, this feature is an interactive map, which makes it a little bit more detailed on where you have actually crossed paths with someone, but we'll get into that in a little bit more detail soon. So first things first, how does Happn's sign up work? It's all well and good if the app is awesome, but if it takes ages to sign up and it is a complete headache, then you might want to second guess it. Well, the good news is Happn's sign up is actually very straightforward. If you've used any other dating app before, like Tinder or Bumble, then it will be pretty much the same. Either you can sign up with your Apple ID, your Google Play account, or your Facebook account. Now, Happn will not post anything to Facebook. It is purely just to take your photos and details to autofill your profile. Then you'll fill out some really basic information, just like you would on any dating app, including your name, gender, and gender that you're interested in. The next step is to select what you're actually hoping to get out of Happn, whether or not you want a relationship or something a little bit more casual, or you're not entirely sure yet. The options there to select are a relationship, nothing serious, and I know when I'll find it. And then, and this is an interesting one where it sort of pops up, you're asked whether or not you can cook, which I found pretty interesting. Personally, I love cooking, but if you're not very good at it, then it's not a great advertisement, I guess. And I just thought it was a little bit odd to be placed right here at this point in time, but hey, I guess it's very important if you can cook or not. The final steps to select are your ideal vacation, your typical sort of nightlife, whether you like to go out lots or you're a little bit more of a homebody like me, whether you smoke, and what your preferences are when it does come to children. And just keep in mind that Happn, just like many other dating apps out there, do allow you to select deal breakers if one of those features is something you are strongly against. For example, if you really strongly do not like smokers, you can make sure that you have set a deal breaker to leave them out altogether. Now, onto how your Happn profile works after you've gone ahead and set things up. Now, most of our profile is already going to be filled out based on those answers that we did just give, but we do need to flesh it out just a little bit more by adding some things like photos. With your photos, it's really straightforward, guys. You can select up to 6. I'm not going to go into much detail here about what makes a good online dating photo. If you're really interested in that, I do have my online dating ebook down below. It is called Tinder Hacked. Yes, it is for Tinder, but that does relate to pretty much every single online dating app out there. And at the end of the day, Happn and Tinder are fairly similar. So I've got a whole chapter on photos. So look, if that does interest you, I have put a link to that down in the description below. Next, you can take it one step further by verifying your profile as well. So you do have that little tick. I highly suggest this as it does just make you stand out a little bit from the rest of the pack. Plus, it eliminates any doubts or any fears that your match might have about whether you are who you say you are. So guys, if you can spend 10 seconds going ahead and verifying your account, I highly suggest it. Next, you can set your preferences, and you can actually do this in the very first stage when you are setting up your account, but let's run through what that actually entails. Again, this completely ties into the answers that we did give when we were setting up our account. So for example, if your preference is a non-smoker or your preference is somebody that does want children, you can set them. Just keep in mind, it's not set as a deal breaker. A deal breaker will ensure that you won't see anybody matching that criteria. But with a preference, it's more so just saying that that's what I would prefer, and you're going to see most of those profiles. But let's just say you've set a preference for non-smokers, you will still have some smokers slipping through the cracks, unless you set a deal breaker. I hope that wasn't too much of a mouthful. Something that you can also select is to share your crossing clusters, which is essentially just where you did cross paths with that person. So it's just much the same, like I said earlier, to Tinder Places, where it would show that exact location. With Happn, it will show on that interactive map I was talking about before, the exact location that you did cross paths. Now, lastly, just like a lot of other dating apps out there, you can select to add your Instagram and your Spotify. Again, guys, I do suggest that you do add them. It just adds an extra layer of credibility, shows a little bit of your personality. And hey, if your match or your crush does like your music taste, it's a great icebreaker from the get-go. Breaker. Now that you've set up your profile, it is time to get matching. But how does that actually work on Happn? So as we said, it works by you crossing paths with somebody. So when you are, say, walking around or you've done some traveling, you then open up Happn, it will show you people you have crossed paths with. You can select their profile, have a look, and then you can select to like or dislike them. Now, obviously, this highly depends on your location. I mean, if you're in the middle of whoop nowhere, you're probably not going to cross paths with that many people. But if you're smack bang in the middle of New York and you do a lot of sort of traveling around during the day for your job or something like that, you're probably going to cross paths with a lot more people. One thing I should note as well is Happn works by its geolocation services working in the background even when you aren't using the app, so make sure you do turn that on. And one other thing, just like many other dating apps, again, is you can boost your profile to be shown at the top of the list for a selected period of time. The big difference with Happn and other dating apps for that one is on Happn, that boost lasts for 24 hours, as opposed to say 30 minutes on Tinder. So basically, just to summarize, a reminder, the way that Happn matching works is you do need to be in a similar vicinity than someone in their general location. You do need to cross paths with each other. You will see their profile on a map, or they will see your profile on a map. You will express interest by liking them. They will hopefully do the same to you. If you do, that's a mutual crush or a match, like it's called on other dating apps, and you are now able to start a conversation. So it's pretty basic in nature, guys. Essentially, you just got to get out and start walking around. So now that you've matched with somebody, how can you actually go about messaging them on Happn? Now, communication on Happn is fairly straightforward, guys. Like I did just mention there, once you do have a crush, when you do both mutually like each other, a conversation can start. Pretty straightforward. And just keep in mind that anybody can start the conversation. There's no rules around it and what gender has to go first, like other dating apps like Bumble. It's a free-for-all. Now, there is another option called Flash Note, which is essentially the option to send a message prior to actually matching with somebody or having a crush. Now, if you do sign up to Happn's premium subscription, you will receive 10 free flash notes every single day. That's essentially 5 every 12 hours. So once you run out, wait another 12 hours and you will receive another 5. The only time I can really think of that this would be a really good feature to use, it's kind of just like a super like with a message when you do have Tinder Platinum, for example. But the time where I think this would work really well on Happn is when you have specifically crossed paths with somebody, like that sort of example I was saying before. You know, you're on the train, you catch eyes with someone, you kind of both, checking each other out, but nothing happens. In this day and age, sort of going up and walking up to somebody and trying to talk to them, it's easier said than done. A lot of people won't actually do that. So I think that sending a message in that instance, asking, hey, were you on the train early this afternoon or something like that, that's probably the best instance to use those flash notes. Now, a question I happen to get a lot around Happn is how its algorithm works. Now, when it comes to its algorithm, it isn't kind of like other dating apps where basically your preferences are taken on board and your activity dictating who you're shown and vice versa, or an ELO score like Tinder. When it comes to Happn, guys, like I've said probably 100 times in this video already, it really only works when you do pass by somebody. It's all location based. Now, yes, preferences and deal breakers do come into account a bit, but at the end of the day, it is all about who you cross paths with. Now, as I mentioned before, when I was talking about things like the flash notes and whatnot, there is a premium model when it does come to Happn. Now, I do need to note here that unfortunately Happn is like a lot of other dating apps like eHarmony, for example, where you do have to spend some money to really get a decent amount out of it. Now, Happn's basic membership is free, but like I just said, you do essentially need to pay some money in order to fully use the app. That's because you will be limited to only seeing people that you have crossed paths with on the free version. In order to message, you will have to upgrade. Now, as I mentioned before, with the premium subscription, you will be given 10 flash notes per day. You'll also remove any annoying ads when you are looking through profiles. On top of that, you will also be able to view the profiles that have already liked you. It also lets you schedule an invisible mode, so you won't be shown to anybody. You'll be able to hide key information from people off your profile, and this is called a mystery. You'll be able to rewind on profiles if you have accidentally swiped too fast, left or right. And you will be able to use a video chat feature 5 times for up to 1 hour. Now, that's all well and good, but what will that actually cost you? So when it comes to Happn, there is a few different options available. You have 3 different levels of subscriptions. Basically, that will get you 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months of subscriptions. That's really the main difference. And obviously its overall price. Now, I'm about to run through all the prices now, but just keep in mind, they are all in US dollars and they are subject to change. In fact, they are probably going to be different based on a few different factors, such as your location. So after this, go ahead and check out what the current costs are in your area. So for 1 month of Happn Premium, you can get it for $21.99. For 3 months, you can get it for $67.99 in total, which is an equivalent of $11.34 per month. Or you can get a 6-month subscription, which will cost you $90.99, which is an equivalent of $7.59 per month. And you can cancel that subscription anytime just through your phone subscriptions. If you want to buy those boosts that we were talking about, which is that little rocket symbol, you can essentially purchase 10, which will cost you $36, 3 boosts, which will cost you $13, or one boost, which will cost you $5. So you know about what you get with Happn Premium, you know about the cost, but the question still remains, is that valuable? Is it actually worth it? What do you get with your value for money? Look, that's a tricky question to answer because just the very unique fact that Happn works off location-based, sort of, walking past someone to match with them is very unique. There's no other dating apps currently that do use that. Now, really the question of whether it's going to be valuable to you or not comes down to a couple of things. Number one, and probably the most important one, is your location. And really it comes down to your financial situation and your goals. I mean, if you've got some money to spare, you're not all that serious about finding the one, sure, give it a go. But look, if your money is somewhat tight, you are looking to spend your money on an app that will definitely get you an outcome, or your most likely chance to get the outcome that you desire, or you're looking for something quite serious, for example, I highly suggest different dating apps. For example, spending your money on something like eHarmony, if you are looking for something serious, for a relationship, something long-term, will be much better for you. And look, when you compare even Happn to dating apps like Tinder, Hinge, or Bumble, I do think that there are much better ones even in that category of, your sort of younger people looking for something a little bit less serious or wanting to see where things go at least. So if you are wanting to use Happn, I probably suggest that you do try something like Hinge or even Zoosk, which has had a little bit of a re-emergence lately. But like I said there, if you're looking for something serious, don't waste your time or money on something like this and go straight to something like eHarmony. Now, Happn is available on the App Store and Google Play, so if it is something you want to try out, go ahead and download it on one of those platforms. But if you still aren't sure if it is right for you, guys, highly suggest, like I said, go take our free quiz, which will tell you exactly what dating app would suit you, your goals, your personality better than anyone. So I've added a link down in the description. Go ahead and take the quiz now. But look, that basically wraps it up, guys. How does Happn work? I really hope you know the answer to that by now. It's a very, very straightforward, but quite a unique app at the same time. If it sounds like it's something that would suit you, you're busy, you're in an area where there's lots and lots of people, go ahead and try it out. But if not, remember, go take the quiz or check out some of my other videos on other dating apps. And if you have enjoyed this video, I would really, really appreciate if you did go ahead and press the thumbs up button and subscribe. It makes a huge difference. But until next time, guys, stay safe, be well, and I'll see you later.